You've probably seen photos like these pop up onto your Pinterest feed lately and wondered, wow, this is such a pretty aesthetic. I want to get into this style. Hi, I'm Daniela, and today I'm going to teach you all about the coquette aesthetic. For starters, the definition of the term coquette means a flirtatious woman. The coquette aesthetic and style also reflects the term coquette. It's a nostalgic, romanticized look on vintage feminine aesthetics. Coquette, in my opinion, is influenced by a variety of historical periods. The first example that I can think of is from France in the 1700s when the Rococo look was wildly popular. The Regency era in England is another time period that you see influence of in the coquette style. The milkmaid style tops and dresses that are very popular right now are actually a modern take of that era. I can even see some influence from the Victorian era when looking at the coquette aesthetic. Going into the 1900s, two eras that have made what the coquette aesthetic is today are the 1950s and 1960s. Brands like Christian Dior and Chanel gave the 50s its signature feminine and vintage look. Audrey Hepburn, in particular, really had this look nailed. In the 1960s, they had the whole baby doll feminine look that became very popular in fashion and beauty. Style icons of the 60s like Priscilla Presley and Sharon Tate, I believe, were also super influential on how coquette got its look. The coining of the coquette aesthetic might be new, but women's love for dainty and feminine things is something that has always been around. Coquette's origins began in the early 2010s from a Tumblr niche aesthetic called nymphette. Based on what I could find online when it came to researching the history behind this aesthetic, coquette, as we know it today, was originally called nymphette and sometimes even Lolita. When coquette was in its beginning stages, it actually took inspiration from the fashion and imagery of the Lolita movie. For anyone who hasn't seen the movie or read the original book, the plot is about a man in his 30s who falls in love with his 12-year-old stepdaughter. Yeah, gross and very icky to say the least. The nymphette aesthetic was split between two types of people who claimed that they only enjoyed the aesthetic of the film and the good literature behind it, or you had people who were genuine sickos and thought that the book and movie was somehow romantic or sexy. Yikes. From what I can tell, nymphette and Lolita evolved later on into vintage Americana and coquette. It makes sense because 1, those terms describe the fashion and aesthetics better overall, and 2, those terms don't have any negative connotations behind them. Coquette itself is an umbrella term for many different subgenres of feminine and youthful aesthetics. So yes, coquette can be this, but it also can be this. Under the coquette aesthetic, you have your classic coquette, which the color palette consists of usually pinks, golds, and reds, and the classic coquette has more of a vintagey type of vibe overall. Vintage Americana is a coquette substyle that is the original Tumblr coquette. The style is very nostalgic of the 40s, 50s, and 60s of America. For the color palette, you see a lot of reds, whites, blues, and golds being used. Dollette is a newer coquette substyle that came out of TikTok and Pinterest. I would say Dollette is a bit pinker and almost gloomier than the classic coquette aesthetic. Pinks, whites, and silvers are the main colors for this aesthetic. The farmer's daughter substyle is a romanticized interpretation of rural American farms. The color palette consists of a lot of neutral colors like beige, brown, and ivory, and also incorporates a lot of blue. Dark nymphette is very similar to classic coquette, but with a darker, gloomier vibe. The colors most used in the substyle are black, red, white, and gray. Key West Kitten is a substyle based around nostalgia for beach towns of Florida from the 1960s to 2000s. Basically, it's all about childhood memories of going to the beach. The color palette consists of bright pinks, blues, yellows, greens, and anything beachy feeling. Bubblegum Coquette is a substyle that's centered around 2000s girly girl nostalgia. The aesthetic is very sweet and girly and uses a lot of pastel colors. And the last substyle I'm going to mention is Gloomy Coquette. This aesthetic is very similar to Dollette, but much gloomier and almost angelic feeling. The color palette consists of grays, silvers, pinks, black, and white. If you'd like to see me cover a particular substyle of the coquette aesthetic in a video, please let me know that in the comments below. When it comes to patterns in coquette, the patterns most commonly seen within the aesthetic are polka dots, gingham, floral prints, and plaid. Let's get into some of the key motifs of the coquette aesthetic. The ones most commonly seen within photos and the fashion are florals, ribbons, lace, pearls, perfume, anything that has a bow on it honestly, lip gloss, anything heart-shaped, candles, stuffed animals, heart-shaped sunglasses, cherubs, and anything that has a very girly and dainty feel to it. Since this is a video about the history of Coquette, of course, I have to also mention patterns and key motifs for vintage Americana. Vintage Americana is very similar to Coquette, but it does have its differences. Like the Coquette aesthetic, the patterns most commonly seen within vintage Americana are polka dots, gingham, floral prints, and plaid. And some of the key motifs to this aesthetic are vintage diners, vintage cars, red lipstick, Coca-Cola, heart-shaped sunglasses, bows, roses, cherries, vinyl records, cheerleaders, strawberries, hearts, bubblegum, lollipops, and rotary dial phones. We've talked about the history of the style. Now I think it's important to talk about the biggest icons within the Coquette aesthetic. I would be insane to not include Lana Del Rey. Personally, I don't think the way that Lana dresses is very coquette. I would say her earlier days were very inspired by rockabilly actually. However, her music is definitely the foundation of how Coquette came to be. Her lyrics and usage of vintage American imagery really influenced the whole Coquette look. It's almost impossible not to see a photo of Lana or a lyric quote from her when scrolling through the Coquette tag on Pinterest. Another Coquette icon that perfectly emulates the vintage Americana vibe is the beautiful Marilyn Monroe. I don't think I need to explain who she is, everyone knows her, but she is such a huge inspiration to the Coquette girlies. The next icon in the Coquette aesthetic is Lily Rose Depp. For those of you who don't know her, she is the daughter of Johnny Depp and is a model. Like Lana, if you're scrolling through the Coquette tag on Pinterest, TikTok, or Instagram, it'll be nearly impossible not to find a photo of her. She's just so effortlessly pretty, and a lot of people really enjoy her style. Sharon Tate is someone who I feel like is not mentioned enough when talking about the Coquette aesthetic. Her makeup and fashion are so iconic and beautiful. Lana takes a lot of inspiration from her, so you know that she's the real deal. Brigitte Bardot is another blonde it girl from the 60s that I think is totally a Coquette icon. I mean, her soft, glamorous vibe totally fits within the Coquette aesthetic. Priscilla Presley is another vintage icon of the Coquette aesthetic. Especially after the Priscilla movie came out, I've seen a lot of people who've been inspired by her style from the 60s. A Coquette icon that came out during the 2010s Tumblr era is Marina. Her whole look during her Electra Heart era had the girlies in a chokehold, like you could not escape it. And the final icon of the Coquette aesthetic I would like to mention is Audrey Hepburn. I think she's quite literally elegance personified. Her style is very classy, girly, and reminiscent of the 50s and early 60s. I highly recommend you use her as style inspo if you want to achieve more of a classic vintage sort of vibe. We've gotten into the history of how Coquette came to be a style, and now let's get into some shops that you can search if you are looking to dress Coquette yourself. I'm going to be ranking stores based on affordability, so I hope this helps you out. The most affordable option by far if you want to get into the Coquette style is to shop secondhand. Your local thrift and charity shops are the perfect places to go to find affordable and unique pieces. If you don't live near stores that sell secondhand clothing, I got you covered too. My favorite place to find affordable secondhand clothing is Vinted. I found literally the cutest pieces on there for really affordable prices. Other online secondhand shops that sell a lot of great pieces for the style are Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay. I love eBay in particular since there are so many good finds and it's also international. Cider is an online shop that I've seen sell a lot of cute and really affordable Coquette style pieces from. It's also fairly size friendly as you can buy from an extra small up to a double XL. Yes Style is another place that I've seen affordable options for the Coquette style. You can find lots of cute stuff on there and it's also very affordable. An affordable place to shop that is also pretty accessible to most people is H&M. Like, the kids accessory section should not be overlooked. They have the cutest hair bows there. Also, you'll find lots of cute camisoles, cardigans, and dresses there too. AliExpress is one of my personal favorite places to buy accessories from. They have a variety of cute things that are also very affordable. I mainly go there to buy tights, earrings, or necklaces, but sometimes I can find really cute shoes and skirts on there as well. One brand I've seen being used a lot when it comes to Coquette fashion is Brandy Melville. They have really cute clothes, and they're not too expensive compared to other brands I'm going to mention. The only negative thing that I can say about them is that their clothes are one size fits all, so they're not size inclusive. It's a shame because their clothes are really cute, but don't worry because I have other stores that I still have to mention. Most of you may know Etsy, however, you may not know about all of the amazing vintage deals that you can find on there. It's the perfect place if you're looking for authentic vintage pieces or looking for great handmade pieces. Next store that I'd like to mention is Urban Outfitters. Honestly, Honestly, I feel like they're a more bougie version of H&M. You can find so many cute and trendy pieces there though. They have so many great options for Coquette. Victoria's Secret is another store that I love getting pieces from. I usually buy Victoria's Secret secondhand cause I'm a broke bitch who loves getting a deal. But their new pieces on their website are also so pretty. And the final place that I want to mention is Mercari Japan. Oh my god, I so wish I had the financial freedom to spend all my money on that website because you can find the prettiest clothing on that website. You can buy directly from Japan using a proxy service, and let me tell you, the Japanese make the cutest clothing ever. I hope you all enjoyed learning about the history of Coquette and its aesthetic. If you guys would like me to make a video going more in depth on dressing Coquette and the types of pieces that you can use for the style, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.